Hello, I'm Ann Accornero, and this is my story about art and healing. So the phone started ringing at 4 in the morning. At first I thought it was spam, because who calls at 4 in the morning? But then it kept ringing and ringing. So finally I got up and answered it. And it was Kaiser. It was a doctor from Kaiser saying, you need to go to ER ASAP. I was totally shocked. I had just had blood tests the day before because I was getting a little out of breath when I was walking, and I thought maybe it would be a good idea to get some blood work done. And I was completely shocked to get this call. So as the sun was coming up, I was sitting in ER with my husband, shaking with fear, waiting to find out what this was all about. I've always been really strong and healthy. I can still do cartwheels at 57. So this really didn't make sense. It took several hours of blood tests and waiting to finally find out that what they found was leukemia. Because AML is so aggressive, they needed to start the treatment right away. And that meant no going home, no thinking about treatment. That meant being admitted to the hospital and being there for 2 to 4 weeks. Something strange happened in the next few hours. This huge cloud of euphoria and optimism and appreciation just flooded me. You would think it would be fear and all kinds of other things, but it was that. It filled me from head to toe. I was just like full of this intense love for everyone and everything. I felt like I had been chosen for the Olympic gymnastics team. This was going to be really hard, a lot of work, a lot of struggle, some pain, but I was going to do it as if I was Simone Biles. I was going to be strong, I was going to take my medicine, I was going to do whatever they're going to say, and I was going to get a gold medal at the end. This cloud of euphoric optimism also brought something else. It also brought this strong desire to paint what I was feeling. And I began to draw really freely. I drew my husband playing saxophone and blowing these gold lights all over me. At the same time, my kitty was tossing the same gold lights, and I was filled with gold lights, and this is one of the drawings. My husband, my sweet husband, brought me all the art supplies he could so I could draw. Every morning when I woke up, I would drag my bedside table to the window, set up all my art supplies, and have this beautiful little mini art studio, and I would just draw whatever came to mind. Soon my walls were full of drawings. So I asked my husband to bring me this huge whiteboard, 40 by 40 inches, and a big tub of felt pens. And I drew this big mandala. And I thought it would be fun if everybody participated. So anytime somebody came in the room, whether it was to bring me food or to check my PICC line, or one of the nurses or my friends or nieces, anytime anyone came in, I invited them to draw on the mandala and color whatever they wanted. After a few days of looking at my IV bags and thinking how kind of creepy they were, I started visualizing an octopus crawling up the pole, and then I started seeing little mice in rowboats floating inside of the IV bag. And in another bag, I saw a cat scuba diving, and in another bag there was a dog floating in a flamingo pool toy, and the ideas just kept flowing faster than I could keep up. And I would sketch them and then paint them, and it was so much fun. And what I discovered was this was really keeping me from feeling scared, pain, anxiety, and it was the best drug ever. And no side effects. Like a jazz musician, these ideas were coming through me like improv. They would flow through and right onto my paper. They weren't literal. They weren't like, oh, I think I'm going to paint this. They just said, you're painting this. And it was so fun for me to see the people come in the room and say, oh, I see you painted the sloths, that means this or that. And it was really interesting because everybody had a different interpretation of my paintings. And I came to realize how my paintings weren't just for me, but they were for everybody else as well. I have been painting my whole life, mostly mandalas and a lot of animals, little dog portraits here and there, cat portraits. And I've always felt that it was meditative and healing. But after having this experience and really feeling anxiety or fear and then painting and feeling it go away, I really got how healing painting is for me. Leukemia brought me so many gifts. You'd think that it would be the worst thing ever. But when I think about it, if it's like a big pie, leukemia is like a tiny little sliver. And then the rest is like all of these gifts. Number one, being able to paint all the time, which when I paint, my soul just feels so happy.
Oh, baby.
Being able to do something that brings me that close to my soul is incredibly healing. It's like giving me, I don't know even the words for it, but it's like it fills my mind with so much joy that I can get through anything. On the early days of my diagnosis, not only did I discover that art was a great medicine for me, but I also discovered that movement and dance and singing, which I don't really sing, but singing also was a great medicine for me. So I would start the day with doing what I called fake ballet. And I would do these movements that kind of look like ballet. I didn't take ballet, but my sister did, so I can kind of remember. And I would do these movements and they just felt so good and so creative. So I would do my fake ballet, and then that kind of morphed into doing a lot more like rhythmic stuff. And then that morphed into doing whole concerts and pretending that all the city lights outside were my audience. And I was dancing like Taylor Swift on stage, full of this healthy, strong energy. And if I could feel that good, then I could get through this. Through all this movement and dancing and singing and dancing down the hall with my IV pole, I discovered that it would just bring this golden light, this joy into my body and into these dark places where the fear was hiding, where the anxiety was poking out. The dance and the singing and the music would just come in there and light it up. And all of a sudden I was feeling strong again. And I was able to handle whatever came next. And there was a lot of things that came next, like a bone marrow biopsy that really scared me. But I felt like I could handle it because I was getting all these tools of art and dance and movement, and all of those things made me strong and optimistic, and they all made me feel like Simone Biles, and that I could do anything and do it well. My hope is that my drawings bring inspiration to those who see it, to the nurses, to the doctors, to the kids, to the patients, to the caregivers. I hope that it brings them hope. And I hope that it sparks some creativity and that creativity helped them with whatever they were going through.